Picture a map of the Western Hemisphere. Now count the countries, 34 of them. Besides the United States, 34 flags, 34 capitals, hundreds of millions of people. And now here is the part that sounds like a mistake. All 34 of those countries put together produce less than the United States does alone. Not a little less, about 3 times less. Think about that for a second. The entire economy of Canada, the entire economy of Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, Chile, and Colombia, every island in the Caribbean, every nation from the Arctic to Patagonia. Stack them all up. The United States is still roughly 3 times bigger than the whole stack. So the question this video answers is simple. How did one country end up bigger than the entire rest of its own hemisphere? And is that number hiding something even more extreme? Let's start with the basics. GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product. It is the total value of everything a country produces in a year. Every car, every haircut, every app, every sack of grain. Add it all up and you get one number. That number is the size of an economy. Now, the United States produces roughly $30 trillion a year. Let me say that slowly, 30 trillion, with a T. That is the largest economy on Earth, and it has been for more than a century. Compare that to Latin America and the Caribbean. That whole region, more than 30 nations, produces about $7 trillion a year, depending on the source. Canada adds a bit over $2 trillion. Add every country in the hemisphere except the United States, and you land near $9 trillion. 9 trillion is a lot. It is the size of a major world economy, but it is less than a third of what the United States alone produces. Now here is where the scale becomes hard to believe. Imagine every dollar of the hemisphere's economy was one person. The rest of the Americas would fill a stadium with about 9,000 people. The United States would fill a second stadium with more than 30,000. Same map, same hemisphere, very different weight. But let's zoom in, because the story gets stranger at the country level. Brazil is the largest economy in Latin America. It produces about $2.3 trillion a year. That makes Brazil a giant of the region. Now compare it to one American state. By most recent estimates, California alone produces more than Brazil. Texas produces more than Canada. New York produces roughly as much as Mexico. The second largest economy in Latin America. Think about that for a second. 3 American states, 3 of the biggest economies in the hemisphere, and the United States has 50 of them. How did this happen? The answer is history, but not the way most people expect. The United States became the world's largest economy around the late 1800s. It had a huge domestic market, a connected railway network, massive natural resources, and later, the biggest consumer base on the planet. Latin America, by contrast, built many of its economies around exporting commodities: coffee, copper, oil, soybeans, beef, all valuable, all vulnerable to price swings. That is not a moral judgment. It is a structural difference, and it created a pattern that still holds today. When commodity prices rise, Latin America booms. When they fall, the region feels the pain. The United States, with its enormous internal market, keeps producing either way. Here's the counterintuitive part. Most people assume America's lead must be shrinking. After all, China is rising. The global economy is shifting. And yet, in dollar terms, the United States still produces more than the rest of the Americas combined, by a factor of 3. Even more surprising, the United States alone produces about a quarter of the entire world's economic output. One country, 1/4 of the planet. Now, does that mean the US is better? No. GDP measures size, not happiness, not fairness, not quality of life. Several small nations in the Americas rank higher than the US on many quality of life measures. Per person, countries like Canada are far ahead of the American average in several areas. Size is not virtue, but size is power. And in the modern world, size shapes almost everything. That is what the modern mirror shows us. Every crisis in the hemisphere eventually becomes an American problem, because the American economy is the region's biggest customer, biggest investor, and biggest source of credit. Every trade deal in the Americas is negotiated with one shadow in the room. When Brazil sneezes, the region catches a cold. When the US sneezes, the whole world checks its temperature. Now look at the same map through a different lens. Per person, the average American produces about $88,000 a year. By recent estimates, the average Brazilian produces roughly 11,000. The average Mexican, around 14,000. Same hemisphere, very different averages. The size gap is not just about population, it is about how much each person produces. And that gap has deep roots. Part of the answer is a painful recent history that many people outside the region forget. In the 1980s, Latin America went through what economists call the lost decade. A debt crisis froze growth across the continent. In the 1990s, hyperinflation destroyed savings in countries like Brazil and Argentina. People watched their money lose value overnight. Rebuilding trust in an economy takes decades. The United States, by comparison, has not had a single year of hyperinflation in its modern history. That stability is worth trillions. Here's another way to see the scale. The United States produces roughly 1/4 of the entire world economy. Latin America, with more than 30 nations and about 650 million people, produces about 6% of the world economy. One country, 4x the global weight of an entire continent. That is not an opinion, that is arithmetic. So what does this mean for the other 34 nations? It means the United States is not just a neighbor. It is the economic center of gravity of an entire hemisphere. Not because of conquest, not because of magic, because of more than a century of accumulated size, scale, and structure. Look back at that map one more time. 34 countries, one giant. And the giant is not shrinking. That is the reality the numbers have been hiding all along. The next time someone tells you the American era is over, ask them one question. Which economy on that map is bigger than the other 34 countries combined? The answer has not changed in over 100 years, and that answer is the whole story.